Good morning, my lovelies, and welcome to the Queen's Curry Kitchen. I am making something rather quick today, and I figured let me get you guys in here and share with you how I make the easiest chicken burger prep for tonight's dinner. You know, there are just days when you get tired of eating the same old, and if you eat a lot of one particular kind of ethnic food, like in my house we eat Indian food a lot, even the person who's cooking actually gets bored, right? So I am going to show you how I prep for chicken burgers. I'm not going to actually make the burgers right now. Hello, Kina. Good morning. I'm not going to make the burgers right now, but I'll show you all the prep that I do so that when I do actually serve the burgers for dinner, it's going to be a cinch to put it together. So I have some thinly sliced onions that I've put in the pan. The burgers that I'm going to be making are with chicken. You can use turkey, you can use impossible meat, you can use anything that your family likes. I guess it'll also work with beef. I just don't cook beef, I don't eat beef. But yeah, okay, so just thinly slice these mushrooms. These are these stray mushrooms that were sitting in my fridge, and I know they really need to get a life right now, or they'll just get wasted, and I don't like to waste food. Good morning for everybody that's tuning in. Definitely share this page so your friends or family can also join in and learn to make really simple food. Like I've always said, I like to do very low maintenance cooking. I don't like anything that's high maintenance, and especially these kind of things really warm my heart, because when I come back at the end of the day at about 11:30, I still have a little bit of stamina left to put fresh food on the table. And these things, if the prep is already done, it really doesn't take that long, okay? I'm just going to saute these onions a little bit and let them get a little charred. You can see that it's getting color on one side. So the reason why I work with a wok is that it allows your vegetables to get this beautiful char. And I have put a little ghee. You can add butter or olive oil, whatever you prefer. I'm going to turn down the heat a little bit till I finish chopping all of these mushrooms. And then one good thing is that if you have the mushrooms and the onions prepped ahead of time, even if you don't use up all of the mushrooms as a topping on your burger, you can still use it as a wrap, filling, or a fajita, or you can toss it with your kale salad. Mushrooms are a great way to add fiber and protein, so don't discount the humble mushroom in your fridge, and don't walk past it in the supermarket, okay? I'll also tell you the tips and tricks of how to make this burger very Indianized. I'll teach you the trick to that as well. Okay, so this is really nice and charred. I'm going to spread this out, and right into the middle I'm going to add my mushrooms. Keep the heat high at all times so that the mushrooms don't start releasing any moisture. People say don't wash your shrooms or whatever, but hey, you know what? I always like to wash them because I don't like the dirt sticking on them. Now just remember, the more of the mushrooms that are actually going to touch the surface of the pan, the more caramelized and charred they're going to get. So definitely spread them out in a thin layer. Try to avoid overlapping, or then just use a bigger pan. And then don't stir them frequently. Just leave them be. Do not, repeat, not add salt at this time. Okay, because as soon as you add the salt, it's going to start releasing the moisture, and then that's really going to kill the vibe of the mushroom. Because once the moisture starts releasing, then the charring process will stop. The temperature in the pan is going to drop. Okay. Ooh, I made a rhyme. I didn't even realize that. Okay. So we are just going to let these guys sit in here. If you feel like you need to add a little spritz of oil or ghee, go ahead and do that. I also have some bell peppers on standby. If you remember, I made fajitas over the weekend for my friends' brunches, and so I have some of these I may want to use that. And now we come to the actual part of marinating the chicken. Honey, if you've never seen an easier marinade for your chicken burgers, this is it. Like, the simplicity of it will appall you. It's just that crazy. Okay, so the first thing you need is chicken, ground chicken. And I'm going to give it a rinse. I'm going to put it in this tray. Okay. You can do the same thing with impossible meat. You can do it with turkey. The first thing that goes in here, this is like the simplest thing. Good morning to all the lovely people that are watching. Kamlesh ji, good morning to you. I am making chicken burgers and I'm showing you the prep for it. You need 1 egg. This is your best friend whenever you're doing anything related to chicken that you're going to fry or bake or whatever. It just gives the chicken a very nice velvety texture. So whether it's chicken velvet corn soup or whatever, the eggs are the thing that give it that velvety texture. In goes some salt. And I'm going to add some freshly cracked pepper. It's so darn simple that you'll laugh at me. Okay? Just give it a good mix. If you want to go in with your hands, go in with your hands. Just make sure your hands are nice and clean. Break down all of the chicken mince and make sure that every part of the egg is well mixed into the chicken. Okay, now I'm going to tell you a variation to add more flavor to this, right? So one thing that we can always do, hi Val, thank you Kamlesh, you're really sweet to say that. Hi Val, I'm going to add some minced garlic to this. You don't want to add too much. Now if you were to go the Indian route, you would add ginger and garlic and always use freshly ground or freshly pound, freshly minced, freshly grated ginger and garlic. Don't use the bottles of ginger and garlic paste. Those are terrible for kebabs and burgers. They really kill the taste of the thing because they just have a very weird kind of an aftertaste of the preservative, right? So that's that. Keep an eye on the mushrooms. I'm going to grab another ladle. Now you can see they've shrunken a little bit. So now I'm going to just lift them up gently and see. You can see what a good color they got on the underside. You see this? That's what you're going for. Remember, we haven't added any salt to this. The way these burgers are going to get assembled is that the burger patty is going to go at the bottom. Then we're going to melt some cheese on top. On top of that, we will put these, we'll put the mushrooms, then we'll put the cheese on top. So the cheese is going to be salty, which means that you do not need to add salt to your mushrooms at this stage. However, if you like a little kick of umami, what I can recommend is just add a little dash of soy sauce to deglaze the pan and like bring all the flavors together. That's all you need, just a little drop. And I have dark soy sauce, so I don't want this to be turning black or whatever, okay? So I'm going to take this and I will transfer this into a container which I'm going to use when I'm assembling my burgers before serving. Like so. And then I'm going to go ahead and saute some bell peppers and use them because I hate to waste food. This is going to add a little bit of the crunchy element to the burgers. And it's going to add some fiber, right? So if you have picky eaters at home, but they'll eat anything as long as it's with chicken, start adding all your veggies to your burgers. Or you can even finely chop them and stick them into the mince. And you just leave them in there. That's all you do. Now for burgers, like I was saying, if you want to use any store-bought seasonings, ideally just the salt and pepper, the cheese and the mushrooms gives it a great flavor, so you don't need to do a whole lot of things. For some variations, if you want to do like store-bought flavoring agents, again going back to, if you want to keep it very Indian, you can add cilantro and mint chutney to make a haryali burger. Okay, that would be great. You can add spinach puree to increase the nutrient content of your chicken burger. That's another thing. The third thing that you can add is something store-bought, like a Cajun seasoning blend. You can add Cajun seasoning, you can add taco seasoning, whatever you want. My only gripe with things like this is that they have too much MSG, and I'm not a fan of that aftertaste. For some reason, when I eat food that has MSG, I just get very jittery legs. Like it's something that started happening recently, but honey, it's true. I'm gonna add just a tad bit of oil to keep it a little more fluid. Now, if you're freezing burgers, let's say you have children who live in college, in the dorms, and they like your burgers or they like your kebabs, don't put any greens or don't put any veggies into this, right? Oh, thank you, Kamleji. Yes, you should definitely try to make these. It's just so easy to do. And you can do it in one pan. You can also make these in the air fryer. It's really a no-brainer. So you can see even these bell peppers are getting nice and charred. If you have broccoli, bell peppers, whatever you have, honey, just use that. Don't feel shy. Now, if you were to make this Chinese style, you could go ahead and add. I'm going to give you all the flavor profiles. You can go ahead and add some sriracha for heat, right? Now, mine is going to end up being Cajun, Chinese, Indian, whatever you want to call it, because I'm putting everything. But usually, I only put eggs and I put salt and pepper and I just leave it at that. I don't mess with it too much. I don't really do too much. So if you're going to be freezing anything, don't add any cilantro, don't add anything that's going to release moisture if it's in the freezer. Since I'm going to make it right away when I come back from work tonight, I am going to add some cilantro because my family just absolutely loves cilantro. If you like little heat to it, you can add green chilies, you can add chopped up jalapenos. There's just so many things. Just look in your fridge. You'll find so many options that can make this exciting and interesting for your family, okay? Now you'll see that it looks a little dry, but actually it's not. You just have to let it sit with the egg. And maybe it needs a little more oil. I don't add any breadcrumbs to this. We don't need that extra calorie. And also when you add the egg, it doesn't fall apart. So you don't really need to add any eggs or anything. You can just cover this with cling film and stick it in your fridge. And now I'll show you how to shape the patties. Even though I'm not making it right now, I'll show you how to shape it. So when you're making it, you won't have any problem. I'm going to turn this off because this is done. Let's just quickly make I'll show you how to shape the patties, okay? What you need is just a simple bowl of water. You dip your hands in it. Some people like to oil their hands. I just use water because I feel like it shapes it very smoothly. Take a portion like that. And then just, it's very easy to work with it if your hands are wet, okay? So this is how you're going to shape the patty. And they tend to shrink a little bit. So whatever is the size of the bun on which you're going to put your burger, make this a little bit bigger than that. So that after cooking, it's going to shrink and come exactly down to the size of the burger. There you go. And don't press it too much. Don't make it too thin because you don't want to dry it out. That's all there is. You're going to take a piece of parchment paper, put your burgers on there, shaped up. And then you're going to leave it in the fridge for at least 20 to 30 minutes. That's the minimum that you should give it. If you want to leave it for longer, like I'm going to leave it for about 5 to 6 hours. That's just when we are going to eat it. So that's a different story. But that's literally all there is to it. It's no rocket science. You can oil your palm, but I think that water works really, really well. If you want to add more seasoning, you can add green onions to this. You can add the green garlic to this. There's a lot of flavor combinations that you can do. I am going to take the bell peppers and put them right on top of the mushrooms because this is something that I'm going to use all together. Okay, so this gave me a good opportunity to use up all of the veggies I had. And now I'm going to show you a really cool trick of what I do with my leftover pico de gallo. If you remember, I had a Tex-Mex brunch this past weekend. And I have this much pico de gallo left. So again, same pan. I'm a fan of one pan cooking. So let's just go ahead and do that. I am going to put all of these things in the fridge. I think it needs a little more black pepper. I will put some cling film on it and we are ready to go. I don't have to cook it right now. If you don't eat eggs, then you can just add some yogurt and lemon juice to the chicken. You might need to add extra breadcrumbs because those things don't really hold well together. So that's that, right? If you don't want to do this from scratch, you can also get my tandoori magic spice blend, which helps you to make all of the barbecue and tandoori type dishes. It's like a one masala that helps you to use it as a wet, or you can use it as a wet marinade, you can use it as a dry rub. It's on the website. We are taking orders. It is back ordered because all the spices sell out very quickly. Okay, so now I'm gonna go ahead and add this pico de gallo. There's no salt in this, mind you. I'm gonna give it a quick saute. No salt yet. I'm gonna crack my eggs, not my eggs, chicken eggs. My egg has cracked and hatched and is 21 years old now. Just gonna whip this up. In the time that it takes to saute, this is gonna go into the refrigerator. If you have any questions about what you're seeing, drop them in the comments below, please. I'm happy to answer your questions. Okay, that's going on. I do have some cheese and some beans. So we are going to make it a protein-rich breakfast. I'm not using any breads whatsoever. I will make the most of it, and I'll use some bell peppers just because I love bell peppers, and I love veggies in my omelet. This could also be a really great brunch dish that if you're having friends for company, you can just saute all of these vegetables ahead of time and then just put your eggs in a baking dish and put it in the oven or the air fryer and bake a frittata. If you don't have any leftover pico de gallo like I do, just use onions and tomatoes, or just use bell peppers, use mushrooms, celery, carrots, whatever you have, right? Okay, so this is right here, right now. Now I'm going to go ahead and spoon in. Again, this is from my Tex-Mex brunch leftover. I'm going to spoon in 1 scoop of beans right in there. You can see I'm just increasing the quality of fiber that I'm consuming. Just going to add a pinch of salt. Everything else is pretty salty. The beans are already salted. And I will be adding cheese. So now I'm going to go ahead and add this egg right in the middle. Ideally, I would do 2 eggs, but I'm just really not that hungry. So I don't want to eat 2 eggs right now. But if you did 2, it will just encompass and enrobe everything beautifully. Nothing's going to fall apart. It's going to look pretty. It's going to taste lovely. Now you're going to increase the heat a little bit. Always remember, when you're cooking eggs or any kind of meat or chicken, don't shock your protein. If you shock the protein, it immediately shrinks and kind of gets a weird texture, right? So that's not what we want. I'm going to go ahead and add some cilantro. Now my tip for adding cheese to your omelets is that don't add it too soon, because then you wouldn't know whether the runniness is from the cheese melting or is it from the egg undercooking. And you don't want undercooked eggs, you don't want raw eggs, right? It's not a safe thing to eat, undercooked eggs. So don't add the cheese just yet. If you have shredded cheese, it actually melts very quickly. You just have to make sure that your egg is cooked properly before you add any cheese. Because oftentimes you'll ask for a cheese omelet, and this happens more in homes rather than in restaurants. You'll ask for a cheese omelet, and then you'll get like a runny egg, and then the cheese will be kind of melted, but you won't know what's going on. Okay, so I am going to cover this for a minute, and you'll see that this is going to set the egg and cook it perfectly. All of these need to go into the sink because it has come in contact with raw eggs. So raw eggs, raw chicken, raw meat, fish, seafood, anything that you touch, please make sure you wash everything carefully. Do wash your hands with soap and water in between handling different foods that could be high on allergens or salmonella contamination. Super important. Okay, time to take a sip of my coffee. Cheers to everybody. I'm not a coffee drinker, but today was just one of those days. Okay. Hello, Kavita. Good morning. How are you today? Let me not shift the view from here. There. If you like it spicy, you can always add Tabasco sauce. You can add sriracha sauce. You can see that the egg is actually now cooking properly. It should be able to move in the pan. The way it's breaking, that means it still needs to be cooked more. I am going to go back and put the cover on it again. Okay, but I do not want the runny egg. If you feel like the egg is running around too much because it's not enough egg, because I only put one, I might change my mind and turn this into a scramble, and then I'll just top it with cheese. Okay, so I'm going to leave this in here to cook some more. Good morning, Raspreet. If this is your first time tuning in, don't let it be your last. Follow this page. Turn on your notifications so that whenever I go live, you'll be able to catch the live videos. I hope you guys got a chance to see the Tex-Mex tutorial that I did along with the desserts, etc. that I made for the day. If you have any questions, you can always reach out to me. You can ask me questions. If you want to take a class with me, all of the information is on my website, queenscurrykitchen.com. I am Chef Nupur. I live in New York, Queens, New York, and I make curry in my kitchen. My specialty is Indian food, especially plant-based Indian food and home-style Indian cooking, but I also do a lot of fusion stuff because, hey, if you live in Queens, you cannot run from fusing the beautiful ethnicities and cultures and the great foods that we find in Queens. So that's my story. I came to New York 25 years ago, and I'm here to stay, baby. This is my home, and I love Queens. So that's my story. If you've been tuning in to my live videos and you've been learning a thing or two, don't forget to go to my website, download a free chana masala recipe. The website is queenscurrykitchen.com. Thank you, Kamleshji. You're so sweet and kind. Queenscurrykitchen.com. You can head over there. All of the recipes are there. My ebooks are there. Okay. All right. So this is something that I think I'm going to have to scramble down because I think there's not enough egg. I should have used 2, but that's cool too. At least it's fully cooked. That's what I want to get. It should be a completely well-cooked egg. I do not want any runny egg liquids in my mouth. It's just like a creepy texture. Alright, so I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to bring it together to the center of the pan and top it with my cheese. A little cheese if you please, and if you're vegan, then hey, you know what? Don't do the cheese. Or do vegan cheese or something. I just love me some cheese with the eggs. I think it's the perfect combination. The beans, the cheese, the eggs. Why not? So anyway, the purpose of this video was to show you the easiest chicken burger marination recipe, which I think we did. And then we moved over to, I don't know how it got converted into breakfast with Nupur for a video, but that's okay. You're welcome to join me and you're welcome to stay. We don't have smell-o-vision, so I can't feed you anything right off of my screen, but I'm happy that you decided to join me. It gets a little lonely sometimes, and I'm happy to see that I have company. I'm going to just top this with a little salsa, only because we are going with some south of the border flavors, so why not? There you go. And then I'm going to plate it really nicely. And I will enjoy this with my coffee. All right. So it doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be elaborate. As long as it's done nicely, I think it appeases your taste buds, right? And I think that cooking food for yourself and eating well is such an act of self-love. I know a lot of people who never used to cook anything, and once they decided to cook a thing or two, it became such an addiction that they actually stopped eating out, stopped eating junk, stopped eating, like it brought about a lot of different changes to their lives. Alrighty. So here we go. This is ready. And I'm gonna chop up some green peppers and put them in here. Who doesn't like a little green, right? And it's gonna be crunchy and nice. I already put in my salsa. Here you go. It's just simple. I just make it fun. That's all I do. So that I eat with my eyes first. I'm just one of those people. So there you go. There you have it. I've just finished making myself a delicious south of the border breakfast with eggs and beans and cheese and what have you. And I've also shown you how to do the toppings for the burger. Like I said, whatever bread you choose to bring, if you're doing sliders, just make sure the size of the patty that you make is a little bit bigger than the size of the bread or the bun on which you're going to place it, because when you cook it, it's going to shrink a little bit. I showed you 2 flavor profiles with the Cajun seasoning, and I showed you how to make it Indianized, and I showed you how to make it super neutral with salt, pepper, and egg, and then add the mushrooms and the onions and cheese on top later on. So I think you're in a good place. If you do decide to make that for dinner, definitely give me a shout out. I'd love to see how your burgers turned out. Also, if you feel adventurous, perhaps you can chop up some fries, potatoes for fries, and then make them in your air fryer while you make burgers in your pan or something like that, right? So I hope you're going to give it a try. Be blissful and flavorful, and until next time, stay healthy. I'll see you in another video really soon. Bye now.